All right, let the real games begin. We are after Thanksgiving. We are heading into week 13 here. Welcome to another edition. Hope you had a great holiday of NFL Power Rankings, presented by Energizer from our studio here in Los Angeles. My name is Andrew Siciliano. On the other side of the screen, the man who does the rankings. Rankings you can see right now by scanning the QR code on said screen between us. In the land of victors today, one day after the Bears vanquished the Minnesota Vikings. Eric Edholm, how was the parade this morning?
Pretty amazing. Bears fans still debating about Justin Fields, but happy to get a victory.
Hey, look, I kid. I'm happy for Matt Eberflus finally getting a division victory, an NFC North victory in his second season there in Chicago. They want questions and answers. There were no answers last night for the Bears. I digress. The Bears are not on our first board that we're putting on the screen. And there are your new power rankings with the Philadelphia Eagles still at number 1. The Ravens at number 2, followed by the 49ers, the Chiefs, the Dallas Cowboys into the top 5. At number 5, the Dolphins don't go anywhere after a ho-hum victory over Tim Boyle and the Jets on Black Friday. The Jaguars go up. The Lions plummet. We'll get to them in a second. The Lions go from 3 down to 8. But there really is no surprise who is number 1, Eric, because there is clearly one team that is better than the other. And that is the Philadelphia Eagles, who again, against a quality opponent, rallied from down double digits to win.
Yeah, most teams panic in that situation, Andrew. I mean, the Eagles have them right where they want them, it seems. But I would love to have a debate about this Eagles team if they were 7-3. You know, we could kind of stack their credentials against some of the other top teams, something like that. That might be a different discussion, but they always win, right? The Jets game notwithstanding. They have found a way, a formula, whatever you want to call it, to be outgained, to be trailing it at halftime, trailing in the fourth quarter, doesn't matter. They find a way. Jalen Hurts is a big reason why. If A.J. Brown isn't there, Devontae Smith steps up. Swift has been an outstanding pickup for them, too, for, quarters on the dollar. They got him pretty cheap. So it goes back to the team building aspect, building on what they did last year. They might be a better team in terms of finishing off games this year. They've been that good at it, Andrew.
Yeah, quarters on the dollar, more like change that they found underneath the couch. I mean, they gave away like a mid-round pick in 25. I mean, something way down the road. They gave up nothing for DeAndre Swift. There's great video during that game as well. And let's give credit to Jake Elliott for the 59-yard field goal to send it to overtime, where Brandon Graham is heard yelling at Deion Dawkins and the Bills O-line, "Hey, guys, we have Jalen Hurts. You're going to lose. We have this guy named Jalen Hurts, and we're going to win." And it almost feels that way, Eric. I mean, I don't know that his numbers are as gaudy as Dak Prescott and his 300-yard streak that we've seen of late. But they have Jalen Hurts, and you just feel like, oh yeah, they're good. They're fine.
Yep. I mean, the rushing touchdowns, obviously, the last couple weeks, more than he has passing. I mean, there are times when he's taking sacks, his passing numbers aren't all that amazing. Brown's been a little bit off the last 2 games. So, teams are controlling them in some aspects, but when the chips are down, when they absolutely have to have it, that touchdown pass to Zaccheaus, buying time, floating to his left and just drifting it in. Those are the kind of plays you just really almost can't stop at this point.
Despite the fact that Josh Allen showed some of that magic, he's caught on Mike NFL Films as well, yelling, "I'm bleeping back" on the sideline. Like he felt good. It felt right. Until it didn't. He misses Gabe Davis, and the rest from there. Number 2, the Ravens, a ho-hum win on Sunday night. They hang on, and they get Justin Herbert and the Chargers off the field at the end, as seemingly everyone has been able to do. And then sitting there at number 3, the 49ers. And here we have it. Once again, the game of the year in Philadelphia. Once again, the game of the year of the week. Your rematch of the NFC Championship game. Eric, where do we go? I mean, there's 50 storylines here between the Niners and the Eagles.
All right. I mean, I guess obviously the rematch angle is going to be played up. But my question is, can the Eagles withstand another emotional setting, another high caliber opponent? I mean, obviously the 6-day span where they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Bills. Before that, but prior to the bye, they beat the Cowboys. I mean, it's just like one hammer blow after the next. They've withstood them. They've taken all comers at this point, but another really tough team. Now, obviously, you can make the debate. 49ers might be the more complete team. They did have the 3-game losing streak. We'll see how it all stacks up. This will settle a lot of debates for us, I think, at this point. And if the Eagles can pull this off, Andrew, who's stopping them at this point?
I don't think anybody is. There's a scenario, by the way, that if the Bills had beaten the Eagles, let's say they had won that game in overtime or in regulation, then the Niners could potentially move up to number 1 by beating the Eagles. That's not going to happen. I mean number 1 in the NFC, not number 1 of the power rankings. But, Eric, will you right now, on the Tuesday as we record this heading into Week 13, commit to the Niners being number 1 next week if they win Sunday?
It feels pretty likely at this point, right? I mean, no offense to Baltimore, they're on bye. I mean, they might just get lapped in this situation if that happens. It's the more likely than not scenario. It would take something pretty crazy, I think, in that circumstance for it to not happen.
That is the right answer, because if you weren't ready to commit to that, you would probably have to take your phone number and your address out of the phone book if phone books are still a thing. All right, let's get to the Chiefs. Something tells me that, and the Chiefs are number 4. Look, they went to Vegas and they fell behind 14-0. Then they did the job, but they actually scored in the second half. Why do I think they're going to have a tough time Sunday night at Lambeau?
Yeah, I mean, this is a Packers team that's hot. Obviously, they've improved their offense as well, and one game doesn't assume that the Chiefs have fixed their problems. I love the fact that they had 1 sack, they didn't really turn the ball over, 1 drop pass. They got a lot more out of Sky Moore and Rashee Rice than they have in recent games. I mean, it's been a good turn after what we saw the other night against the Eagles with all the drop passes. But the Green Bay team playing with confidence. I mean, obviously, they can win at Lambeau. They had a huge comeback against the Saints early in the year. So, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a possibility for a KC team that looks very good, but I don't think we can say that all their issues have been fixed.
What's amazing, and we could use this for any of the 32 teams pretty much in the power rankings, is what a difference a week makes. Like a week ago, oh my God, the Chiefs are vulnerable. They have nothing offensively around Patrick Mahomes. No one on this team can catch a pass. This team isn't good enough to, they're fine.
It happens. It's the 1 week car wash. Every single week I say to myself, well, I can't talk about that last week. Well, I end up having to do it again. I mean, you never know. I mean, but you're right. One big win, one big loss can completely change the narrative for the team. And I think this season has spelled it out more than any recent one I can remember.
And listen, I'm not criticizing the media. It's what we as fans feel as well. 1 week you're feeling, hey, I should start looking up flights to Vegas. My team may make the Super Bowl. And the next week, I mean, you're staring at your food all week. You're barely talking to your family. And like, I hate my life. And hey, we won again on Sunday. Hey, now we're going to flip back to what we were like 2 weeks ago. Maybe I'm just only talking about myself. I truly do love my family. Moving on, the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are now in your top 5 after, and I'm going to say this with a little bit of sarcasm, beat up on a bad Commanders team and ran up the score on a defense that traded away its best 2 players and then fired their D coordinator the next day. Come on.
Hey, listen, sometimes those coaching changes have a positive effect on a team. That didn't happen last Thursday, okay? Fair to point out. But I think this Dallas team, if you look at it, especially what Dak's done over the last, 6 pack of games or so, it might be the best stretch of his career. So, yes, this is a 1 week vote, and I had them leapfrog the Miami Dolphins, who, I thought played okay the following day, but the score may have been a little bit misleading there. And I just felt like Dallas was a more dominant performance and had a bigger body of work in recent games. So it's a cumulative effect, but there's also a 1 week effect too. I thought they outplayed the Commanders more than the Dolphins outplayed the Jets.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And part of me, though, wants to ask Ron Rivera, did you just tell Jack Del Rio enjoy the last month off? Like, I know we're all getting fired. You can go home now. It's Thanksgiving. Do you really need to, just go
the family,
on the beach
right?
Somewhere. Go spend it with some family. So the Cowboys move up 2 with a win over an team, but they look good, and a lot of people watch it as Thanksgiving. The Jaguars, Eric, and I realize there's only so much movement in the top 10 here. They are our future champions presented by FanDuel, and it looks as if now they're in the driver's seat in the AFC South. They're minus 1,000 to win the division, but they go up only 1 with an impressive road win against a playoff team. Only 1 spot, Eric. Do you not like Trevor Lawrence's hair, or is it something like that?
Yeah, I don't like his hair. I even told him that in a video one time we did together, but that's okay. That's fine. There was a little bit of a car crash. It was a little bit of a pile up ahead of them on the highway. There was only so many spaces they could move up. But yes, one of the more impressive games of the season. Obviously, things got right in London and outside of the San Fran game. They've been pretty darn good since then. But, again, a second impressive performance after getting blasted at home by the 49ers. That to me says that they're growing, they're developing some tough skin there. And Trevor Lawrence, I didn't think he got off to the greatest start this season, but as time has gone on, I think he's grown with his confidence, making some plays with his legs, huge third down conversions and or penalties. Basically, he went out there and saw Tavir Thomas and said, that's the guy I'm going to go after time and time again on Sunday. And to me, in his third year, that's also a sign of growth. You take what you go through in the week, the game plan, and you put it to action on Sunday. They did it repeatedly. And yeah, it's great to see Lawrence and Calvin really, really forming that combination we thought they would early in the year.
Two things. Number one, that pick you threw to Derek Stingley should have been holding. Evan Engram was hooked there.
It should have been.
As well, lining up their slot right. The other thing is, I love what Trevor Lawrence said after the game. Hey, are you excited about this rivalry? You and C.J. Stroud twice a year. And he said, no, I honestly wish all the teams in our division were bad, so it would be easier for us. And he said it kind of tongue-in-cheek, but he meant it, and I give him credit for his open honesty. Let's get to the Lions in our final minute here of our first segment of the NFL Power Ranking Show presented by Energizer. They plummet. I mean, they fell 5 spots down to number 8 from number 3 because they keep turning the ball over. What a mess.
Yeah, I kind of regret now not moving them down from 3 last week. I mean, they held on for victory, had the great comeback, and I think everybody was sitting on the edge of their Thanksgiving seats on Thursday thinking the same thing would happen. It was never quite there. They did score late, but that defense has really kind of taken a step back here. And, outside of Aiden Hutchinson, they don't seem to have a lot of big playmakers right now. Jack Campbell is overloaded as a rookie. The secondary's been picked apart a little bit. No takeaways on Thursday for the first game since week 2. That's sort of been a part of their equation, at least one every other game. So, Bears and Packers last 2 games have moved the ball against them, and you just say to yourself, this is not the time to also be having offensive line problems and Jared Goff turnover problems. They've all kind of consolidated over the last week or so. And, this team that was everyone's darling not too long ago has now got some issues it's got to face.
Yep, and they go on the road this week to face a banged-up and desperate New Orleans team. We've revealed the top 8 coming up next. Where are the Steelers now that they show at least a semblance of a professional football offense? We will tell you. Coming up, Power Rankings Week 13. The countdown continues on the NFL Power Ranking Show, presented to you by Energizer. The Pittsburgh Steelers are up 4-9 after beating Jake Browning and the Bengals. Browns go down 1-10, followed by the Texans, the Bills, the Colts, the Seahawks at 14. We'll call that the playoff line. And then the Broncos and the Vikings at 15 and 16. Eric Edholm, of course, puts together all these power rankings. The team of the week presented by Truist Bank. Eric, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They fire Matt Canada. They let Mike Sullivan call the plays. And what do you know? They eke out a victory against Jake Browning and the Bengals.
Yeah, after rewatching that game, 2 things stood out. First of all, the first play of the game, Kenny Pickett throws to Pat Freiermuth down the seam. I almost, had a heart attack watching it. I hadn't seen that route run all season long. I mean, that was the biggest development right there. It just sent a message right away. We're going to throw the ball differently than we have before. Everything to the perimeter, everything short. Instead, they get a huge game out of Freiermuth. He returned last week, had been out for a long time. Quietly, a big part of that offense, even if he hadn't got off to a great start this season. So Sullivan, Pickett, Freiermuth, that helped. Who knows what happens with the Deontay Johnson drama? They dealt with the Pickens stuff earlier in the year. But Mike Tomlin, good coaching, right? Negative point differential this season. 3 wins over 500. Compare that to the Chargers. Positive points, -3 in the win department. So I just think they've found a good way to win games. And again, their yardage advantage, I should say, suggested to me that they outplayed the Bengals by a significant amount.
No, I'm with you here. And they are ahead of the Browns, who they lost to the week before. Cleveland's at 10, Houston's at 11. And then you have the Buffalo Bills sitting here at number 12. Buffalo is heading into a bye. They are 6-6. At number 12, that kind of tells me you still think they're a playoff team, potentially, even though they sit here in the 10 spot to open up the week in the AFC.
It's funny, they played the Eagles on Sunday, and we talked in the open about how impressive the Eagles are at winning games. And you could argue that the Bills are just as impressive at not winning games, right? They dominate their opponents at times and ring up 500-plus yards on Sunday, controlled the ball for 40-plus minutes. Allen was great. They had some spectacular moments in the game, and yet they couldn't finish it off. Little plays here and there, a missed field goal, 10 first-half penalties, whatever you want to pull out. Obviously the end of the half execution there in regulation, right? Not, choosing to ice the kicker, waste the timeout on that, and then go straight to overtime with 20 seconds and a timeout. So, we mentioned the Gabe Davis play too. There's just so many little things that add up to them not winning games, but when they're on, they're dangerous. So that's what kind of keeps them in that kind of low teen range right now.
I said it on Monday night on NFL Game Day Final with Weich after the Bears beat the Vikings. I think in the AFC, it comes down to which quarterback is healthy at the end of the year. Just get in with a healthy quarterback. And if the Bills somehow get in, then you open the door for some Josh Allen magic in the postseason. Magic that we saw a lot of on Sunday in the rain in Philadelphia, but in the end, not enough. And Jalen Hurts had more. So you have the Bills at 12. You have the Colts sitting here at 13. They have a better record than the Bills. They are 6-5. They're at Tennessee this week, or rather, they're home for Tennessee. They're up 3. They're in the playoffs right now.
Yep. They're in that last spot. And look, we'll see what happens with Jonathan Taylor. He's dealing with a thumb injury. Ian Rappaport reported that on Tuesday. And, but they have Zach Moss too. And both those guys sort of punished that defense on Sunday for the better part of 4 quarters. Gardner Minshew, he's still a wild card, right? He had the I would say, poor interception and some other plays that could have ended negatively, but you have a defense that takes the ball away. That's 10 turnovers in 5 games now. That's kind of a formula for them. Even if they give up some yards, they steal a possession or two almost every time out. So that plus the run game and an occasional sort of splash play from the passing game, Michael Pittman, another strong outing. It's been a pretty decent formula since that 3-game losing streak. They've gotten back on track, and they don't have the firepower of the Bills, but they're an interesting team all of a sudden.
Shane Steichen deserves a lot of credit here. He deserves a lot of votes as well for Coach of the Year in a rookie effort there without Anthony Richardson, with Jonathan Taylor missing all that time as well, and everything that surrounded that injury at the start of the season. They're not there yet, but right now they are fighting for a playoff spot, and they are ahead of Seattle at 14 and ahead of Denver at 15. Let's make some power moves, because that's what the Broncos are doing. Power moves are presented by Energizer. Go back to the end of September, Eric, after the Broncos gave up 70 and 10 touchdowns. Let's play that drinking game. Every time you mention 70 points, you got to take a shot here. Of course, a shot of water, for fun, recreational, please, 2 hands. Don't give it to kids here. I don't even know what I'm talking in circles. They were 31 after week 4, Eric. They've won 5 in a row.
I regret nothing, Andrew. That was where they were at the time. This is not a good football team. I remember I watched this team and thought, boy, I expected more from a Sean Payton coach team. And yet, we saw the 70-point outing, everyone calling for Vance Joseph's head. He has turned that unit around completely. The fact that they have 15 turnovers forced, 15 takeaways in the last 4 games, tells me that they are doing an outstanding job and have corrected whatever ills there were in September. So that plus Russell Wilson, great ball security, using his legs more. He's got that great connection with Sutton. The other receivers there have kind of developed too. If Javonte Williams is healthy for the playoffs, they're another frightening team if they get in, for that matter. But still, the way they've climbed back into this thing has been shocking, but impressive.
It is shocking. They're 6-5, and that's good. That's the same record the Colts have, sitting there as the 7 seed right now. There's a logjam at 6-5. Indianapolis, Houston, and Denver, and then Buffalo right behind them at 6-6. Give Sean Payton all the credit in the world, and I have no idea how I got to teeing you up on the Broncos there, other than the fact that they were bad early and they were number 31 through 4 weeks. Now they are good, and they are fighting for a playoff spot as we turn the calendar to December. So too are the Vikings. As we sit here right now, Minnesota, Eric, is the 7 seed heading into the bye after losing to the Bears. But as we sit here right now with Justin Jefferson coming back after the bye, Kevin O'Connell is not committing to Josh Dobbs after the 4 interceptions on Monday night.
Yeah, I had a friend in the league text me at halftime and said, when do they pull him for Nick Mullins? And I thought, boy, I don't think they're going to do that. But now, all of a sudden, after 4 interceptions, arguably 3 of them were his fault, I would say. You have to at least consider it. Mullins has been in the system for, multiple seasons now, parts of multiple seasons. Josh Dobbs has been there less than a month. Whatever he did in those first couple games, should count for something. But when you see a performance like this against the defense that hasn't dominated, right? The Bears have been competitive, but not great. It opens the door. It absolutely does, especially with your star receiver coming back.
Yeah, it does. And I love Josh Dobbs. I've said this repeatedly. It is the story of the year. If you believe in quarterback win-loss record, he is now 2-9 this year. A lot of that, obviously, the Arizona Cardinals, they're not a good football team. But something to consider here with Jefferson coming back after the bye. All right, coming up on the NFL Power Ranking Show presented by Energizer. Where are the Packers? Because they're playing good football these days. Coming up. NFL Power Ranking Show presented by Energizer. The Saints are 17. They're down 2. Packers are up 4. Falcons are up 4. Bengals are number 20, followed by the Chargers, the Rams, LA back-to-back, the Raiders, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Eric Edholm, how about the Green Bay Packers? They are up 4. What if I told you I thought they might beat the Chiefs on Sunday night? I think there's a chance.
It's going to be a competitive game, I think, right? At least if the Packers carry over what they've done. And Jordan Love's played great. Matt LaFleur looks like he's having fun again calling plays. And those young receivers have started to step up. And, with Aaron Jones out, you have to. And with the defense that, look, if they don't get those takeaways against the Lions, maybe they lose. That is a little concerning against the KC offense that's at least seemingly getting right now. But, yeah, can't count them out. Green Bay's in the thick of it all of a sudden.
The Falcons, if the playoffs were to start right now at 5-6, would host the Cowboys. I mean, that is just bonkers, isn't it?
Every Falcons game feels exactly the same to me, right? They use the run game. They get something out of it. Desmond Ridder makes a mistake, but then he brings them back. And that was what played out on Sunday. And look, they win by 2 scores. Impressive. You beat the team that was ahead of you in the division. Now you're up on them. It's probably going to go this way down the stretch, but it does concern you that they kind of had to get those 2 turnovers in the red zone in order to win. I mean, the Saints were going down, scoring both times. One is a pick 6 the other way. One leads to another touchdown. So, Atlanta finds a way to do it, even if it doesn't sort of win us over every single week style-wise.
I mean, the Falcons, again, are a division leader at 5-6. Somebody has to win the NFC South at 5-6, and they're the 19th team on your list. And then we have the Rams who are up 2, and we're talking playoffs. And I'm not kidding here in LA. They have a fascinating game this week at home against the Browns.
Yeah, and boy, the way that Rams offensive line played the other day against the Cardinals, still granted, but that all of a sudden is a really good matchup against the Browns team that suddenly isn't defending the run quite like they used to. Maybe, again, this is only a 1 or a 2 week trend, but we'll see how it plays out. I mean, Cooper Kupp's playing banged up. Kyren Williams comes back from injury to perform extremely well. All of a sudden, he's sort of a linchpin in their plans. And maybe they're one of those sort of sneaky teams like the Colts that gets in and surprises people. You never know.
They are 5-6, and a win over the Browns would be huge, getting them 6-6 and very much in the NFC conversation. The rest of the rankings, the Bears, the Titans, the Jets and Giants, the Commanders at 29, the Cardinals at 30. You have the Patriots barely ahead of the Panthers here. Carolina fired Frank Reich. Carolina is 32. I think you summed it up the best when you wrote this thing up on NFL.com, as you do every week here, that the gap between 1, the Eagles, and 32, the Carolina Panthers, couldn't be any bigger. It's like you're looking across the Grand Canyon. Edholm, great job as always, sir. Enjoy Week 13. Enjoy your NFC Championship game rematch. For Eric Edholm, I'm Andrew Siciliano. So long, everybody.